Your Excellency, Mr. Cvetkov, dear Cvetan, distinguished colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, it's my great pleasure to be here in Sofia again and to have the chance to see very nice Plovdiv and to see this very nice great ground table where we are sitting now. I was asked to talk here about this issue, and we would like to invite you to some process, to invite you to the road to value-driven audits, to invite you to the way on the road to the modern times. And I would like to start a little lighter and with a little exaggeration and humor. I'd like to invite you to see what the world looked like 100 years ago, in a period that Charlie Chaplin called modern times. There were the modern times 100 years ago, and please accept my next invitation to the present day. Maybe we can call it the more modern times. So thank you very much. What did we see? The difference of 100 years. We can see the people were the same. They had their worries, conflicts, experienced their love, and had to fit into the world that was crushing them, whether by gear wheels or by bureaucracy. Artists have always been able to express problems of the modern age, and we see that the time is increasingly modern, and the need to express its problems increasingly urgent. A comparison of these two videos has allowed us to ask ourselves a number of urgent questions that can help us find the answers we need. And in this, I see the role of supreme audit institutions. Let's compare in time with each other what we can compare and what makes sense to compare. Let us show that thanks to the comparison, we can ask the right questions and look for the corresponding answers. We have to be like an artist to show our stakeholders the right message about the modern times they are living in. And we can do a lot for it. And we are not at the beginning. So far, the Supreme Audit Office of the Czech Republic has performed almost 30 cooperative audits with different size from Europe in recent years. These audits have one thing in common. No matter how the audits are specified and how the teams are put together, for successful results they need solid, comparable data, which is processed by a unified methodology to achieve the best results. And that applies to all kinds of cooperative audits. From this view, I see it crucial to remark the conclusion approved by the members who attended 10th Eurosci Congress last year in Istanbul. The conclusion shows demand for new audit tools, well-timed and focused knowledge and experience sharing, better capabilities, and last but not least, an effective contribution to the Sustainable Development Goals. I mentioned the data and their quality as a basic thing related to common audits. We tested the possibilities of using the data to provide relevant source of information not only between Supreme Audit institutions. A few months ago, we organized the first public administration hackathon in the Czech Republic for IT experts. A goal for more than 60 experts was to create applications or bring new ideas or views with the use of open data to the Czech public sector. It had a great results. Participants created just 15 applications, and it happened only during a 24 hours non-stop programming session. If you want to learn more details about this event, please see our web pages. But now to the benchmarking information exchange project. We called it BEEP. What is it all about? It's based on the core principles that I introduced 2 years ago, and I talked about it at the Eurosci Congress in Istanbul during our candidacy presentation. It's a way of sharing relevant audit information, hard data and numbers between the supreme audit institutions. The information which is extremely useful for audits and which allows us to compare practices in different countries. Be it the price of highways, cost per patient per day in hospital, cost for putting an unemployed person to work, it can be anything. It should overcome situations when the data from different countries is incomparable by creating a methodology and selection of suitable topics. Since BEEP is based generally on benchmarking, its output can be described as a good practice in the public administration. I believe this type of information is extremely beneficial, and if we introduce it to our work, it will increase the value of SAIS results. Unified data, in the common methodology is missing, or there is no consensus on that. It's difficult to produce valid results based on international comparison. This example shows that our Ministry of Environment has not yet figured out the issue of keeping track of statistical data on waste management, with the ministry reporting values for waste production in the Czech Republic using different unified data sources methodology than the Czech Statistical Office. This fact is one of the reasons the European Commission refused to fund the construction of new major facilities for energy recovery from waste in the Czech Republic. Let's see some of the basic principles of the project. You can see them on the slide. It's simple. And what is important, each side can join in at any time to work with others. The results are shared with everyone through a secured environment, extranet. The question you see on this slide is illustrating the substance of the BEEP. And what you see on the whole slide is the preview of the BEEP website, which is ready to use now. The website offers basic information to all interested parties and is the easiest gate from which you can enter extranet I talked about. If you want to see it, my colleague Stefan Kabátek can show it to you later. Currently, we have worked on adding more topics to BEEP. To be precise, we consider adding animal production, central purchase, management of immovable assets, and further mentioned social housing there. We will also consider to focus on e-government with supreme audit institutions as members of the Eurosci IT working group. In fact, there are many possibilities and issues that audit institutions from different countries can cooperate on. There is more and more data available for comparison. And now I am going to give you some example at a national level where BEEP was used in an audit. Here is the first one. In one of our recent audits, we focused on 3 hospitals in the Czech Republic with large budgets. The audit mainly focused on the purchase of medicaments, medical devices, and some services. The comparison results were shocking. In many cases, hospitals paid twice or 3 times more for the same medicaments. You can see several examples in this table. We also found similar differences when comparing the prices for which the hospitals bought medical materials. And the differences were enormous. For example, one hospital bought the same stent from the same supplier for a price 3 times higher than another hospital. As regards to catheter, there was even a 5-fold price difference. And here is another example. A few months ago, we published audit results for a toll collection system used on motorways. Our findings were clear. We concluded that the toll system was too expensive. We used an international comparison in this audit. The audit showed that for €100 to be collected, €25 has to be spent. We compared the numbers with those in Austria, where they use similar technology as the Czech Republic does. And in Austria, they need to spend only €12. Similarly to the audit of hospitals, this raised a lot of questions and triggered a discussion at the time when a new toll system provider for the next 10 years was being decided upon. The result was excellent. Then the current provider offered to lower their costs and thus collect tolls for a lower price, a much lower price. The costs could have decreased to 8%. These were exactly the results that we wished to achieve by our audit. This was our original aim, and it was sufficient just to compare numbers of 2 countries. Last example is from audit focused on reconstruction of B and C roads. We used data from our Slovak colleagues and compared prices for which roads were repaired. There were some differences between these audit results. The comparison showed that the minimum level of price range per 1 kilometer was similar, but the maximum level of the price range was twice as big as in the Czech Republic. We found out that one region in particular was responsible for such a big difference. And let's move to the next example of the possible BIP application at the international level. So far, examples were mostly about the numbers, but cooperation between Supreme Audit institutions can be useful for system comparison as well. In an audit focused on social housing, we were able to describe the differences between social housing systems with the help of our colleagues from Slovakia and Austria. It's obvious there are differences not only in definitions of social housing, so differences are also in impacts of the social policy on target groups. Audited state intervention was not able to deliver expected positive change in behavior of beneficiaries and an effective solution to reduce state budget expenditure. And finally, the last example is much easier and based on hard numbers again. The government real estate issue is less sensitive than social housing. In this audit, we focused on real estate management of the state property. This time, we had to deal with a different methodology, but we were able to compare some of the numbers. You can clearly see that the United Kingdom is more efficient and more effective in both indicators related to the use of immovable assets. Last thing I want to mention is the link between Sustainable Development Goals and the BIP. There are goals which were transferred to national goals and measures that we suggest to examine from the view of their fulfillment with the benchmarking approach. This will give us an opportunity to learn which national strategies and measures are the most efficient. Some of the topics I mentioned before are related to Sustainable Development Goals, but we need to cover more aspects related to the particular goals. The most difficult part is to set priorities for our audit work, but to rank them to BIP topics is much easier. I think I have said everything essential. I see a great value in comparison. It can help us ask a number of urgent questions that will enable us to offer irreplaceable answers. Our audits will gain a completely new dimension, and their readers will have new information at their disposal. And if you struggle with all the information I gave you now, just remember the modern times and the increasing need to express its problems. There is only one thing. I would like to invite you to our beep. Thank you very much.